How is it that a new Sonic game actually feels like a Sonic game for once? A year ago, Sega revealed Sonic Mania during their livestream for Sonic's 25th anniversary. You know, the one with the annoying background noise? Yeah, that one. Oh yeah, music to my ears. Not only that, but Mania is so good they had to air the trailer twice. Anyways, Sonic Mania is the first 2D Sonic game since Sonic & Knuckles in 1994. There was nothing in between. Nothing at all. Sonic Mania plays a lot like the classic Sonic games from the early 90s. However, it leans the most towards Sonic 3 and Sonic 3 and Knuckles, or what any sane person would call it, Sonic 3 and Knuckles. What I mean by this is how the stages transition and the choice of characters the player has. The game is pretty much the successor to the original trilogy of Sonic games. Even Mania chooses to ignore the existence of Sonic the Hedgehog 4. Not only that, but it acts as a celebration of Sonic's 25th anniversary with a mix of redesigned older stages and a few new stages. How this game came to exist is kind of interesting. Sonic Mania was developed by fans. Many years ago, several fans contributed to the hacking and fan game community with their own Sonic the Hedgehog projects. Sega noticed what they had been doing and hired them. Something someone else I know of wouldn't do. These fans got to work on several projects, which include ports of older Sonic games until eventually they got to Sonic Mania. Like previous Sonic games, there's a story, but you probably wouldn't know what it is unless you bought a physical copy of the game or just looked it up online. Sonic Mania takes place shortly after the events of Sonic 3 and Knuckles. Not long after Sonic and Tails save Angel Island, a sudden dimensional breach occurs in the atmosphere, causing a unique energy wave signature to appear on Angel Island. While the two are relaxing, Tails finds out about this and gets Sonic to look into the situation with him. The two of them then head to Angel Island. Unfortunately, Dr. Robotnik, or Eggman as he's called these days, noticed the dimensional breach as well as realizing it could be a great source of power. He dispatches his elite robot minions known as the Hard-Boiled Heavies to retrieve it. By the time Sonic and Tails reach the island, the Hard-Boiled Heavies have excavated the source of the signal, a mysterious gemstone known as the Phantom Ruby, from the ground. Not long after that, space-time suddenly warped around everyone, including Knuckles, who was relaxing nearby. After failing to prevent Eggman from stealing the gemstone, Sonic and his friends go after him and the game begins. If you've played the classic Sonic games, you should know what to expect at this point, and Mania does its best to emulate those games. Like those older games, the goal is to get to the end of each act in a series of zones within 10 minutes. If 10 minutes pass, the player will lose a life and have to start from the last checkpoint. For health, the player collects rings. As long as they have at least one, a hit from an enemy or obstacle won't kill them. Getting squished by something will kill the player no matter what, though. When the player gets hit, rings they've collected will be lost and fly out. You can try to collect as many as you can, but if you have a lot of rings, you're probably not getting all of them back. Another way the player can die is from being underwater too long. To avoid this, you either go up to the surface or find air bubbles. There are also items that the player can get by smashing monitors that will help the player out. These include shields, rings, extra lives, and more. However, there's also a Robotnik monitor that will hurt you if you break it. These aren't the only things that Mania brought back. One of the bonus stages is Blue Sphere from Sonic 3 and Knuckles. To get to a Blue Sphere stage, you have to have at least 25 rings, and then there will be a star circle above the checkpoint post. After jumping in, a Blue Sphere stage will start. In Blue Sphere, you run around this open 3D room running into blue spheres that turn red after you touch them. Your goal is to get them all. However, if you touch a red one or a blue one after it turns red, you won't win anything, and you're sent back to whatever level you were on. It can be extremely challenging not running into something after a while, because the longer you're in one of these stages, the faster you'll be forced to go. However, if you do win, you get a medal. If you have enough medals, you can unlock some extras, which includes a mode where you can replay Blue Sphere stages. However, some of the other extra stuff that requires Blue Sphere to unlock doesn't really make a whole lot of sense to me. Blue Sphere is not the only bonus stage, though. There's one where Sonic is running down a path chasing after a UFO, however, there's a time limit. Collecting spheres will increase the player's speed, and collecting rings will increase the amount of time that Sonic has. If the player can catch up to the UFO, they will get a Chaos Emerald. In the main levels themselves, other new gameplay mechanics are introduced and work well with the environments they show up in. Even the boss fights work similarly, resulting in some really creative battles. Unfortunately, a handful of Sonic Mania's bosses are pretty annoying. But Chemical Plant Act 2 totally makes up for it. due to the fact that it's a round of Dr. Robotnik's Mean Bean Machine. The main game is great, but there's also a decent amount of side content to play through. First of all, there's Time Attack, where you can race through most stages as Sonic, Tails, or Knuckles, trying to get the best time possible. The stages in this mode do not have any checkpoints or boss fights. There's also a competition mode where two people can race each other through a selection of stages. They can play as whoever they want, including the same character. Also, Versus mode is extremely broken. And like I mentioned earlier, there are unlockable bonus modes. Sonic Mania overall manages to be a really good game. Not only does it feel like a classic Sonic game that would have come out in the 90s, it feels like a game that would have come out this year. Level design is great, the remix versions of old tracks are really good, and the game looks like a classic Sonic game. Honestly, I'd play a Sonic Mania 2 if it were to exist at some point. However, I'd also be interested in playing a Sonic game like this, but with just new levels made by the same team. Sonic Mania is only $20 on every device it's on. Saying that's a steal would be an exaggeration, however it is a very decent price for a game of this size. In the end, Sonic Mania gets a Robotnik out of 50.